2021 SBLive Washington High School Basketball Virtual Media Days. I'm Dan Dickau alongside Andy Buhler, connecting with coaches from across the state at different levels. Today's guest, interim coach at Heritage High School in Vancouver in the GSHL. More than likely, we're pulling for you to remove that interim tag, and this will be your program moving forward. I know that's your passion. That's the direction that you want to take it. Coach, you took over the Heritage program. You told us about 7 days before the season started.
That's correct.
How much of a challenge was that for you, those 7 days, to implement or get your thoughts together to implement your philosophies?
It was, the previous coach was an amazing coach. So, I mean, he did lay some of the groundwork for me, but I did change the philosophy a little bit too. It was primarily an offensive team, and now I'm trying to focus on defense. So I've been trying to implement that, and that's been a little bit of a struggle because it's a very young team, mostly sophomores. So,
with having a young team, you mentioned mostly sophomores, and not having the ability to have a summer of tournaments, leagues, maybe team camps like a lot of schools have, and then having a condensed quote unquote training camp, probably I would imagine 4 to 5 practices before your first game, which is what we've heard from coaches from across the state. What were your biggest focus points on that defensive end of the floor, putting in your philosophy?
Conditioning was one of them, just trying to get them to be able to play full court defense and trap, focusing on their agility. Because like you said, I mean, with COVID, a lot of these kids haven't been doing exercise. They haven't been doing the things they need to be doing to get their bodies ready. So big part of it was conditioning, and then also teaching them footwork and where to be on the court, and just trying to, help their IQ. That's where I'm trying to really focus, especially with the young team, is their IQ levels.
Heritage moves down to 3A this year, and lo and behold, it's a combined 4A, 3A Greater St. Helens League schedule. So obviously a lot of teams that you're used to seeing play, but a lot of really tough teams in that. I know you guys have, you've already seen Kaden Perry at Battleground. You've seen Union. What is it like playing in the Greater St. Helens League, and how do you prepare your guys night in and night out to bring it?
Well, I try to show them, like, no matter what with the game of basketball, you can always win the game. So, I mean, everybody's going to have an opportunity to win. If you play your game plan and you focus on what you need to do to win, you can beat any team. And I mean, we held our own for a little bit against both those teams, Union and Battleground. We were in the first half, but again, like I was talking to you guys about, that agility and endurance, it kind of fell towards the end. So just really focusing on that, hey, we can beat anybody. I mean, we just got to play our game plan, work our hardest, and really get those 50-50 balls, really.
With having a young squad, like we've mentioned in this conversation up till now, there has to be a belief that is kind of brought about in these young players' minds and hearts. In playing Camas and Union in Battleground tough, what is your teaching points in regards to those games, and how do you begin to build that belief?
Just showing them that where we were a year before with a squad that had mostly seniors to where we are now as mostly sophomores, showing them where our game plans changed from being primarily offensive based to a primarily defensive rebounding based team, and seeing the small victories, like seeing the rebounding, the boxing out, the charges, the steals, and they're seeing that the things have changed. And then, like I was saying, like seeing the halftime, like we're focusing on, one piece at a time, and, we're doing one half right now where we're able to be competitive, try to beat the team. And like I said, we've been there every game almost. And I think that's been a big uplift for the kids, because they see, hey, Union, ranked number 1 and number 2 the last 3 years in 4A, and, we're staying within 10 points in second, quarter. So I think that's been a big uplift for the young guys, and just seeing like that, hey, the future's coming, and these sophomores are definitely going to be a team to watch out for.
You grew up in Southwest Washington. You mentioned off camera that you've been to a lot of different basketball camps growing up. So you've seen a lot of different players over the years down here. You had a chance to coach against Kaden Perry, who will be going to Gonzaga in the fall. A couple of our journalists covered the game the other night where he had a monster dunk. You guys did a really nice job on him. up to the point of the dunk. What was it like preparing your team for a player of that caliber? And what are your teaching points for your squad going into a game like that?
Well, I mean, I try to tell the kids, everybody puts their shoes on the same, right? Everybody puts their shorts on and pulls them up. So, I mean, yes, it's awesome to play against a player that skill level and that, highly ranked. But I mean, just like you said, even when I played, there was players that were Derek Ravio and Kevin Love and people down here that we've played against in tournaments and stuff, especially during Christmas Classic. So, I mean, you play against NBA level players throughout your life at one point. And I try to tell the kids, it's like they're still human, right? We still got to go out there and guard them. And like you said, we did have a good game plan. It worked in the first half, and then he was able to figure out what we were doing and adjust, that's what good players do. So, I mean, it was awesome to see him do that as well. But like you were saying, our game plan was working.
Throughout this really long off season, within the group and your returners, I know it's a pretty young core. How were you? What did you observe about your team's ability to stay together in the off season, even if it didn't mean being physically together?
I mean, it's good to see these kids get along. I mean, that's one of the biggest things with high school sports, especially basketball, is like you get a lot of different groups where this crowd hangs out with this crowd and they all kind of split off. And this young core, they're pretty much all, really good friends and they respect each other. And even the ones that aren't friends, I mean, they don't disrespect each other. And even the ones that, they'll work hard against each other in practice. They're not trying to, hurt them just to get somewhere. So, I mean, like that's a really big thing, especially with maturity level, like you said, being young. A lot of times it takes a while to teach that to kids.
Coach, there's a opportunity, or there was an opportunity this past basketball season with no current high school season, where you could kind of maybe sit back and watch basketball from a different perspective. Now, you just got the title of head coach, so you weren't necessarily in the position you were in now, where you're implementing the philosophy. You had the last decision. You were more of a suggestion maker. But with this past winter season, watching NBA and college games, was there anything that stuck out to you and made you think, if and when I run my own program, these are going to be the pillars of what I want my team to look like?
I mean, a lot of my philosophy is back to the old 90s style of NBA, being rough and tough defense, like your, Miami Heat, New York Knicks. And then also I always quote Phil Jackson and the Chicago Bulls and try to show them about, even these young kids, trying to explain to them that like you have to be selfless to win. That team had a lot of stars on it and people still had to take, roles on the team. So I've been using a lot of that. And also, I mean, LeBron James, Lakers winning championship, showing them that most of the teams, I try to say philosophy-wise for defense, wins championships, right? So, I mean, even Golden State Warriors, when they win the championships, majority of the time they were top 5 defense. Most people were like, oh, best offense in the NBA, but they don't realize like they were still top 4 or 5 in defense too. I think the last time that an NBA championship team that won that wasn't in the top 5 was, I think, the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, and I think they were like 9th or 10th. But other than that, it's always at least top 5 NBA team defensively. For college, I mean, obviously, like you said, camp-wise and stuff, being from here, Gonzaga, I use a lot of their philosophies, a lot of their drills, trying to teach kids footwork and defense as well. So I just mix and match a little bit of everything. But yeah, I like the hard-nosed 90s defense is what I'm trying to teach these kids.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. We're pulling for you to have the interim tag removed, and you have your own program to run moving forward down here in Southwest Washington at Heritage. So for SBLive Washington, he's Andy Buhler. I'm Dan Dickau. Thanks for joining our SBLive Washington Virtual Media Basketball Day in 2021.